everyone. Welcome to episode number 3 of our podcast at the Closing Table with Mike and Shelby. Thank you so much for joining us. Before we go any further, we love your support. So like, comment, and subscribe. Hope you're going to have some amazing content continuously coming out. Speaking of our perspectives and things we're thankful for, and speaking of that, we're recording on Memorial Day. So we want to say thank you to all those brave men and women who served our country and put up the ultimate sacrifice so that we can have the opportunity to achieve the American dream. So just thankful for that opportunity. Thankful we get to work together, collaborate, give our insights. It's an amazing time to. Sorry, we have pugs. I don't know if you can hear them. They'll be in the show a little bit later, but we hear them snoring in the background. But anyways, Shelby, welcome. How's Memorial Day going so far?
It's going. Can't complain about a Monday off.
Yeah.
While still observing why we have it off.
Yeah, no, it's nice to have an extra Sunday, extra Saturday, whatever we're gonna call it, 3-day weekend.
Yeah.
So we're in here working. Hope y'all are out there having a little bit of fun, and hope y'all can stop by and check out the channel when this video drops. But speaking of opportunity in the American dream, when I say that old cliche, the American dream, what does that mean to you?
I think everyone has their version of what the American dream is. What it looks like to live that life. I think we are both of the mindset that settling down and having a house and building your family, whatever that might look like, is the American dream. So I think that the ultimate opportunity is just to build the life that you want to live. For us, we see eye to eye where we want to own the home, we want to build a life, we want to have the real estate opportunities that we've been given. That feels like the American dream to me.
Yeah, it's one of those things. It's whatever you envision for you, right? Whether you're someone who wants to make a ton of money, whether you're someone who wants to just follow your passion, no matter how much money you make, whether you're someone who just wants to have a family, buy a house, whatever it is, in this country, that's one thing is whatever that vision looks like, you do have the opportunity to go out there and pursue it, and in all reality, just be happy, right? It's all about happiness. So, but speaking of American dream, like the cliche saying, it's one of the biggest things that I think most people would say is home ownership. Right. So, in this country, we have a system built where, an encouragement that home ownership is the way to go. Not only for, having a family dynamic, house you want to call home, having your kids, your wife, your husband, whatever the case may be, but also wealth. Right. So we know the stats. Most of the successful people out there, they own real estate. And again, that can mean anything to anybody. But when you think about owning a home, for you, what are some things that just come to mind of why that's important to you?
I mean, it's important to me to feel like I have a place where I belong. Like I have a home that I can come home to, that we can make ours and build our life around it, where we can have family over and celebrate different things. And I think that's an important piece of what I would say is the American dream.
Absolutely. So, and one thing I forgot to mention is having the dogs there too, right?
Yeah.
Not just the kids. Whether you have kids or don't have kids, maybe your pets are your kids.
Right.
They're definitely ours in our house.
American dream and building the family and building the home life, it might look different for everybody. It looked different for me for a long time, and dogs are still very much center focus in our household. They're spoiled, living the American dream.
They are living the dog version of the American dream, right? So, but back on opportunity. That's what it's all about. You have the opportunity to do so, and what I want to chat about how that relates to today, especially in the housing market, is the opportunity that's there to be captured, right? It's there to be had for those who who take action, right? So, we've been living in this higher rate environment going on about 4 years. I think coming up in September will be kind of fourth year of us breaching above the 6% threshold. And you've probably talked to your parents before about rates today. I've heard conversations with people who are older than us, like it's all perspective, right? Rates back then were, you've heard what?
Someone was saying, I think like 9% or something, and that
Which
was
is low.
That was low at the time, and they were happy with that, and that feels crazy, but perspective.
Okay, my mom was telling me, in the teens, right? So it's like a credit card rate, So obviously we don't want to get there again, but it's perspective, right? And I think we lost a little bit of that because of COVID. All of a sudden rates just bottomed out, but that was due to a pandemic, right? So people maybe have this perception of what rates should look like and hope for. In reality, we don't want a pandemic for that to happen, right? So, but speaking on the opportunity, looking back at some stats, going back to 2022, for example, was what we keep saying. I think a lot of our content recently has been, don't wait to buy. You probably heard that all the time. And I've mentioned it several times, during our content sessions when we're having conversations behind the scenes. We keep pressing on it because it's true, right? We care. We don't want people to lose out on an opportunity. So, looking back at 2022, like I said, September was when rates first went above 6%. I think the average home price was around, let's say, 380 back then, the average home price. And so the average appreciation of those homes from that date till today, what would you guess? You haven't told me the stats quite yet, but what?
Specifically signed up to not do the math portion of the mortgage.
It's a ballpark.
So what is the question?
How much do you think that home appreciation on average has gone up in total since 2022 to today, knowing homes consistently appreciate year over year?
I don't know. Maybe 20 grand in the last couple of years.
Well, what about a percentage?
Oh, a percentage. I'm even worse at percentages, but so that would be a very, very minimal percent of that. That would be like less, I don't know, 5-10%.
Okay, well, that's a good guess. And so people may think, housing market's slowed down, rates are higher, not as many buyers out there. The average appreciation from then till now is 15 to 20%, right? So which gives you a lot of perspective. That even when rates breached above 6% into what we would consider for today as a higher interest rate environment, which has slowed down the market comparatively, homes have still gained appreciation 15 to 20%. So that same $380,000 home back in 2022, if you were to buy back then, would be potentially worth, $76,000 more today. So that's, when you hear that number, like,
it's a big number to think about. And even thinking about, in my brain, I'm thinking about a $380,000 house appreciating $20,000. I'm like, that sounds pretty good, but we're talking about almost 4 times that much.
Yeah, it's almost $20,000 a year.
Yeah.
Right? So it just tells you that even when the market is slower, there's opportunity out there, right, to increase your wealth, right? So just some perspective that when we say don't wait, these are some of the numbers we talk about is buying a home back then, you'd be worth $76,000 more today just for pure fact of owning that home.
Right.
So now we flip it, right? Because again, rates are still kind of combating us a little bit. It's been a fight back and forth, and so we're like, same perspective. You've heard the saying, there's a cost to waiting. But not only do you lose because you haven't owned the house and gained that appreciation, but there's a cost too, right? So same scenario, you know what, rates are too high, I'm gonna wait to buy, right? That same house, you tried to buy it today, it's gonna cost you,
Right.
over $70,000 more. So that's a lot of money, right? That's a lot on your payment, because you decided to wait.
Yeah, I think the interest rate piece of it is just such a hard pill for people to swallow because they know a friend or their mom or their grandma bought when interest rates were less than 3%. I mean, that was a hard thing for me to wrap my own brain around when I bought my house during COVID and my 2.875 interest rate was beautiful. It was amazing. I was so excited. And I mean, it was the struggle when we decided to sell the house because I was like, well, we're never going to get the interest rate again. But the reality is we're not really moving towards getting to interest rates like that again anyway. So I think that if you're sitting and you're waiting for rates to get to 2020 2021 level of less than 3%, you're not going to own a home for a really long time if that's what you're waiting for.
Right. And so we've all heard the saying, right? Supply and demand. I've heard the saying, God's not making more land, right? So by waiting as well. So there's not everyone, but there's a lot of people who are waiting.
Right.
Right? All right, let's wait till rates are in the 5s or the 4s, whatever. However, if everyone's doing the same thing, what's that going to tell you? Like when you hear that, all right, that means what? If everybody waits till this X number to hit, what's that going to do? It's going to increase what? The demand.
Right.
Right? With still not a ton of supply.
Right.
So what happens when demand exceeds supply? Prices
It's
go
going
up.
to get really expensive. Yeah. I think, there has to be an emphasis on knowing when the time is right to buy for you, but you can't base that around what you see happening with interest rates because we can't control it. If it's a matter of waiting to buy because you're trying to save or you're trying to finish school or whatever it may be, those things all make sense. But when you get to a point where you're like, well, I'm just gonna wait, and everybody and their mom is also waiting, then it's going to come time where maybe rates do come down to a place of 2020 2021 level again. Everybody's going to buy, and there's that dream house that you had, that house that you were looking at, that you fell in love with, somebody else fell in love with it too, and it's going to go quick.
Yeah, no, 100%. We're not going to get those extreme COVID situations, knock on wood again. But, there's going to be a percentage of that, at least a little bit, because we've all been kind of, not us, we bought a couple of years ago when rates are higher. We understood that it was a right time for us to buy again. But we just don't want anyone out there, like you said, if the time is right for you personally, your job is situated, your family's situated, all the factors are there personally for you and yourself. We just don't want the rate itself to push you off from buying. I don't want that to be the only reason.
Right. Well, you miss out on the home that you fell in love with. What's the expression? Marry the house, date the rate.
Yep, 100%.
Yeah. So there's always that idea of we can kind of it isn't our favorite. We're not thrilled about it, but we can kind of suck it up and get the house that we want. And then, keeping an eye on how interest rates going, or having someone in your corner that watches interest rates for you and reaches out and says, hey, this is what we can do with this new interest rate. We might just kind of have to suck it up for a little period of time. But the ultimate win is you're in the house that you want. You're in the house that works for you and your family. And we just kind of have to tough it out for a little period of time, refinance, and then everybody's feeling a little bit of relief from the interest rates.
100%. So moral of the story is don't wait to live the American dream if the opportunity is right. And we're always here to run numbers and talk scenarios with all of our wonderful clients. And so, this wasn't us trying to convince anybody, kind of it was, I said if it was right for you. And
I think more than convincing someone, it's just trying to add a little bit of peace of mind. Like it makes sense to say, I'm going to wait for interest rates to get to this point. But on the off chance that it takes a really long time for them to get to this point, there's a lot of missed opportunity for yourself. And like you said in the beginning, the appreciation that comes with the home that you own is also a missed opportunity. Longer term, longer end game. But I think it's more so just trying to put a little perspective on it from a lending side versus, you know, whatever advice you might be seeing or whatever the numbers might look like. I think it just helps kind of ease your mind if you are looking at purchasing and you are trying to swallow that hard pill of whatever your interest rate might be looking like right now.
Yeah, no, 100%. So, do you think we should check with the Pugs and see if they approve? You know,
We might have to wait for nap time to be over, but yeah, we should definitely see what they think.
all right. Well, I think what we'll that's some extra content to come. You're gonna see that to see what the Pugs' opinions are in terms of should you wait or should you buy. I think there's a lot of people who know it all out there. A lot of questions, a lot of answers, a lot of opinion. But for us, you know, we trust the dog's opinions. So yeah.
100%.
All right, awesome. Well, appreciate y'all's time. Keep up for some more content featuring the Pugs coming out here in just a bit. And until next time, you know, happy Memorial Day, and we'll see you then.